Hello everyone. Today's topic is going to be about memory, and we are going to be looking at the GCSE Computer Science OCR spec today. This series of videos is all to do with making your notes as condensed as possible. I was an examiner for a really long time, so I know exactly what's going to be getting marks and what isn't, what kind of questions are going to come up. I've also, worked in the British education system as a computer science teacher for a really, really long time. So I'm using my knowledge to help condense your notes down as much as possible. Ideas for revising: generally get the questions down, get the answers down that correspond to them, and then just make flashcards and go over them until they're in your head. The spec points that we're going to cover is we're going to be looking at embedded systems and also just generally things to do with RAM and ROM. The first one that we're going to look at is embedded systems. So the general questions that we could get are: describe embedded systems and give examples. So the description of this is a computer system within a large system with one purpose, e.g. a fridge or microwave. State two embedded systems in a car parking system, GPS, automatic windows. So if you think about this, they could give you any scenario, but it's just good to think about a car, think about the embedded systems that could be in it, and then apply that to different situations. Then you've got the reverse of an embedded system, which is describe a general purpose computer. A general purpose computer is a computer that can perform multiple tasks on multiple purposes, e.g. a desktop computer. The next spec point: the need for primary storage. Describe and give an example of primary storage. A piece of memory that is directly connected to the CPU. So the examples that people go for is RAM, ROM, but they do forget about cache and registers. Describe what volatile means and give an example of something that is volatile. Volatile means when the power is turned off, it forgets all data on the memory. RAM is an example of something that's volatile. The follow-on question is: describe what non-volatile means and give an example of something that is non-volatile. Non-volatile is where it remembers the data even when it has been switched off and turned back on again. ROM is non-volatile. Another example of that would be secondary storage, which we're probably going to do next lesson. The next spec point is going to be the difference between RAM and ROM. So what I've tried to do on this one is, this could be quite a long question of up to about 4 to 6 marks. So I've given you the purpose of each of them, whether you can read and write, and also what are some of the other things like what it stores and whether it's volatile and non-volatile. And it's just a nice, easy to remember table. So RAM stores instructions and data in use by the computer in that moment. ROM stores something called the BIOS and the bootloader program. Read and write just means, can you read and write data to it? RAM, you can read and write. ROM stands for read-only memory. So you can only read the data, you cannot change anything on it. What does it store? RAM stores instructions, data, and the operating system that's in use by the computer. The ROM stores the BIOS and the bootloader. Whether it's volatile or non-volatile, RAM is volatile, ROM is non-volatile. Again, here, we've kind of gone through this in the last slide, but just a couple of quick questions on it. So the purpose of ROM in the computer system and the purpose of RAM, just to make it a bit more succinct. So describe and state the purpose of ROM. ROM is read-only memory that holds the bootstrap program, which is the program which turns the computer on. A little bit extra there. ROM is non-volatile, just a little extra point there. Describe and state the purpose of RAM. RAM is random access memory that holds data and instructions that are currently in use by the CPU. RAM is volatile. The last one we're going to look at today is virtual memory. So virtual memory is used. So the questions that we could get is: describe virtual memory and why it is used. Virtual memory is where part of the hard drive is used as RAM because you have ran out of space on RAM. So that describes that point. Then what they might say is give an advantage and a disadvantage of virtual memory. So virtual memory stops the computer from crashing. That's the big positive. The negative of it, though, is it's super slow and you have to explain this. You can't just say it's slow. You have to explain this. So because when we're loading data, it has to go from the hard disk drive and then into RAM, then to the CPU, rather than just going from RAM to CPU in the fetch, decode, execute cycle, it slows everything down. So the process is hugely slow. Okay, so if you get that last little part, then that is it for today.